Hey everyone, welcome to today's live discussion, Simple Steps to Digital Adoption and Automation in Hotel Operations. My name is Jason Freed. I'm the Hospitality Data Evangelist at MDO, and I'll be moderating the discussion today. Before we start, a couple quick things. The audio is on mute for all the attendees, but please feel free to ask questions during the presentation in the chat box. We'll take 10 to 15 minutes at the end to answer as many questions as we can. Also, the session's being recorded, and tomorrow we'll send an email to all the registrants with a link to the video and slides. So today I'm going to be joined by Kyle McKeag, who's the Director of Technology Service Delivery at MCR Hotels, and Rory Samper, who's the Solutions Engineer at MDO. And today we have an awesome discussion planned for you. So we're going to talk about uncovering steps to making your job easier while saving money at your hotel. So before we dive too deep here, guys, I want to give you an overview of the MDO platform. MDO really serves three verticals. Digital document management is that paperless night audit process, taking all of those documents and storing them in a secure location, and then automating the workflow of those documents to ensure compliance and sign off. And that's what we're going to be talking about today. We also offer a budgeting and forecasting tool for more efficient budgeting and more accurate forecasting. And then finally, a comprehensive business intelligence solution that allows you to build custom reports and dynamic visual dashboards. Today we're going to be talking specifically about MyDocs and how you can use it to automate back office operations. As we're out there talking to customers and hoteliers, here is a lot of the challenges that we hear. First of all, there's still a lot of manual keystroking, or what I call swivel chair, moving from one system to grab the data and enter it manually into another system. Hoteliers are incredibly concerned about keeping their data safe, especially their guest data safe, but also their transactional data in a secure and safe location. And then there's oftentimes a lack of insight from regional or the corporate level and what's actually going on at the property and the daily performance and any issues that are happening on property. So guys, I find this super astonishing that hotels out there are still printing their night audits each day and storing them in manila envelopes and banker's box. I've seen so many photos of storage rooms and attics and even parking garages filled with these night audit reports, and it really blows my mind that we're still printing and storing these. There's a better way, folks. MDO's MyDocs is a digital document management solution that allows you to standardize a paperless night audit process that centralizes access to key documents, ensures audit compliance, and reduces your environmental footprint. It also automates the workflow of those reports and sends them to everybody who needs to see them and possibly sign off on them across your property and across your organization. This is a critical step to keeping leadership informed of daily operations and issues at the property level. Moving this sensitive information to the cloud ensures the right employees within your organization have easy access to it, while at the same time access is strictly restricted to outsiders. Of course, all this helps your hotel and your organization reduce its environmental footprint by not printing these reports. Again, by automating that document workflow, no longer are you putting emails together to send out reports to everybody who needs them in the morning. And then leadership can see which reports are there and which ones are potentially missing. And it really helps keep everyone informed of what's going on at the property level, whether there's any issues, and how the performance was of the night before. Moving your data into the cloud really is the best way to keep it secure. And this way you can provide access to everybody on your team who needs it, but restrict access to any outsider. MDO operates in what's called a virtual private cloud environment, which is built in AWS, and it uses modern security and monitoring tools to keep your data safe. Of course, there are right and wrong ways to move your documents into a digital environment. One way is to put them on a thumb drive, and that opens you up to a lot of security issues. Anybody can grab that thumb drive and instantly have access to your data and files. A lot of hotels will use a Google Drive or Dropbox, but this makes it really challenging when you need to go back and search for those files. They're not indexed or searchable. And oftentimes it's like keeping files in a filing cabinet, right? You put them there and you never go back to them. MyDocs is integrated directly with your PMS and accounting system. It pulls those reports with the click of a button, and then they're automatically searchable if you need to go back and see them at a later date. Lastly, by moving to a digital document management solution, the savings that you'll see are real. Of course, there's going to be savings in ink, in paper, and toner costs. But the real savings, guys, perhaps most importantly, you are saving trees. We've done the calculations. You can get about 17 reams of paper from one tree. Customers using MyDoc save an average of more than 9,000 trees a year collectively, and that's something we're really proud of. MDO serves more than 7,000 hotels across the world, and here's just a few of the companies who've adopted paperless night audits across their portfolio. All right, now I'm super excited to bring in our next speaker, Kyle McKeag, who's Director of Technology Service Delivery at MCR Hotels. MCR is one of the largest hotel owner-operators in the United States, with 150 hotels last I checked. Kyle, let's get right into it. If you don't mind, start by giving us an overview of MCR's approach to digital adoption and automation.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you mentioned, MCR, we're a large hotel owner. We go between second, third, and fourth, depending on the day of the week. And whilst a lot of the more traditional hotel owners, operators, the big brands, follow a lot of the same tried and tested methods for good or bad, we and our CEO, Tyler Marsh, speaks a lot about it. If you've ever seen him speak at any of the major events, of taking a different approach to it. And he's very, very positive and very big on that approach being technology driven and data led. The automation piece of it, there's always the fear of going forward with automation being, oh, you're just trying to cut costs and, fire people, which, I mean, sometimes that's the case in various industries. It's not really what we're trying to do. What we're trying to do is automate to allow people to use their specialisms, their skills in the correct jobs, the correct tasks. So what we're trying to do is see where those pain points are, things that are having to be done manually, things that are emailed, things that are printed still on paper, things that are stored on one computer and hopefully find their way to the right place. Automate all of those pieces. So it's solving the problems with technology and automation as opposed to replacing people with technology and automation. So, and partnering with MDO for the might solved a pretty large problem we had of we were staying at maybe 80-85% success in terms of getting the right reports to the right people every day from our properties, which is pretty good, honestly. But with MDO, okay, there's going to be the odd issue where something corrupts or, a property has no power, no internet, and can't get their data across. But we're now in the high 90s instead, 98, 99, some days it's 100. So that's just like one of those successes that we're able to hit in not removing the human nature of it, but just improving the process to it and allowing our account managers and our accountants to get the data and then do their actual job rather than spend their entire day chasing the data.
Yeah, that's incredibly helpful, Kyle. And I think we're all on the exact same page in terms of technology and digital adoption being there as a resource for employees. I want to follow up a little bit on, are you guys putting any effort toward or any focus on sort of removing some of these manual processes from the property level and taking them on at maybe a regional or centralized level, things like accounting processes and, night audit reports and things like that?
Absolutely. That's one of our core goals. Is the jack of all trades, master of none has traditionally been the kind of GM's mantra, and other people on property as well, and that it just doesn't make sense. The most important thing they should be focusing on is managing their hotel, managing their staff, training, making sure it's good guest experiences, the core fundamentals. So our goal is to take those burdens a lot of the time off the people on property. And sometimes that's automation, sometimes it's having people in, like a regional vice president role or a regional kind of execution role to do some of these things.
That's great. So, Kyle, one of the things I'm learning more and more about is the financial audit process in hospitality. It happens more than I realized. Hotels are in a unique position that they collect payments and collect and pay vendors and all these various things. Having a record of all that stuff is critical. Does moving this data and these reports into a cloud environment sort of help prepare if that audit process ever does, or if the auditor does ever come knocking on the door? Have you been through a hotel audit before?
Personally, I have not, but we get hit with them a lot, and having the non-paper form centralized solution, it makes a big difference, both from the financial point of view, but also even from things like licenses, tax, in terms of property tax, various things to do with food and beverage. All of those play a huge role in where we're at, and whether that's centralizing it on our end and something we build, working with a vendor or partner like yourselves, or other SaaS-based platforms that are out there in the market, partly because it makes everybody's job a little bit easier. But then when we do have internal audits, which we are always running, or an audit from, be it governmental or local kind of overview companies or organizations, whatever it happens to be that comes up, a lot of the time it would be, okay, we need 30 days just to gather this information in the past, because we're talking about printed reports put in a box and in a corner somewhere in a hotel, or paying thousands of dollars a month to someone to store it for you. And you don't even know where it is. So taking away both the overhead cost of that, as well as the stress and the worry about finding where this stuff is.
All right, so last question for you, Kyle. Here, the sustainability stuff is really interesting to me. The fact that we're not printing whatever it is, 80 to 100 pages of paper every night across 150 hotels and putting them, like you said, in an envelope in a banker's box somewhere. It's got to have some impact, right? Talk a little bit about MCR's approach to sustainability, and if you think paperless night audit is helping MCR reach its sustainability goals.
Yeah, for sure. I think firstly, the concept of sustainability, not to get political, but it's always going to be, you're coming down one side or the other. Is I don't care, it's for someone else to deal with, or the complete opposite. It's really important to save all of this. And a lot of people are kind of missing the picture when they think of it that way, in that it goes hand in hand with saving money a lot of the time. Like, yes, we saved X number of trees without using all this printer, and it's great. Like, we want to do that as an MCR. It also saves us money because we're not printing, we're not using ink. It's twofold. There's really no downside to it. And we follow that approach with a lot of things. We internally, hospitality professionals or people who've worked on property might be familiar with the Red Book, the book put at front desks to hand over notes between shifts or put down something important you might need for a few days from now. We got rid of all of them at every single one of our properties, and in-house built a tool to do exactly that. That's online. So again, saving money, but also saving paper, saving printing, all of those types of things. The paperless night audit piece to it was, I think, a really important step, because we saw pretty immediately at a property that costs went down and use of paper went down, and we had centralized information.
Thanks so much, Kyle, for being with us. Really, really appreciate the time. Best of luck moving forward on your digital adoption and automation journey.
Thank you very much.
All right, that was great. Now it's time to show you how the magic happens. I'm going to bring in Rory Sampere, who is Solutions Engineer at MDO, to walk you through how MyDocs will standardize your paperless night audit process and centralize your data and documents. Take it away, Rory.
Thanks, Jason. And hi, everyone. My name is Rory Sampere, Solutions Engineer here at My Digital Office. I'd like to just take the opportunity today to go through sort of a day in the life of using the MyDocs solution. So I think everyone here knows and understands the importance of the night audit pack as really the record of everything that happened throughout the entire day, the previous day and all days before it, if you're storing your night audit packs correctly. So it's really crucial to have the night audit pack in place and being saved appropriately. But as a night auditor, I'm usually either needing to print out the individual reports, so hoping that I choose the correct reports, print those reports out, hope I don't run out of ink, store them either in a closet somewhere or hopefully not an off-site storage facility where we're having to pay extra for that, or downloading it to the desktop and then uploading it to what can commonly be a fairly complicated folder structure, where it's easy for myself as a night auditor to upload to the wrong place. So really, if I'm working at a property that we have the MyDoc solution already in place, there's very little I need to do, if anything at all. Commonly, for the vast majority of systems, the MyDocs is able to work directly with the PMS or POS on property to automatically receive those reports. So they can be configured or dropped in a file share and then picked up automatically from the MyDoc solution, so that as the night auditor, all I'm really needing to do is close out the end of day. And that's kind of where my job stops for a lot of cases. We do, though, also have the ability as a night auditor. If you can see on my screen, we have the universal loading portal. Each user within the MyDoc solution has access to specific portions of it. So commonly a night auditor, when they logged in, they would only see this universal loading portal. So you usually don't need to see an entire repository of reports. But as a night auditor, going to my universal loading portal, and right here, you'll see my hotel management group or my corporate account. It'll default to my specific property or hotel that I'm working at. Or if someone above property, you would see all of the properties here. So as a night auditor, I really don't even need to choose the groups that I'm looking at, and I'll always default to our last closed business day. So here, what I can do is just simply validate that all the reports that we expect to receive from the PMS or POS are in fact coming over. And this may include things that are still hard copy or are generated on property, such as like a housekeeping sheet, or something that I need to upload or scan and then upload as part of the night audit pack, which I can also easily do is here. I simply scan my report or my housekeeping sheet or any other hard copy report. I would just drag and drop right into the browser, choose the business date associated with the report, the name of the report, and the solution, which in this case will automatically populate to our paperless night audit solution. So here I can hit submit, it'll then upload that, and it'll be saved alongside the rest of the reports that are automatically coming from the PMS and POS. And really that's it from a night auditor standpoint. It's extremely simplified, gets rid of a lot of the potential manual errors that are involved. So it doesn't take a lot to get them up to speed, and making sure your night audit gets packed, does get saved and stored appropriately. Now, as a GM, I think it's also equally critical to make sure that our night audit packs are being stored and compiled and consolidated correctly. Not many GMs have a whole lot of time to be doing that every single day, at least not from my experience. So oftentimes, we're hoping that the night auditor is able and capable to get all the packs together, to store everything, to get the right reports, that they're being kept in the right locations. But validating that, especially if you're still printing manually, is a huge undertaking. Within the MyDoc solution, we have the compliance dashboard. The GM, I could be doing this daily, I could be doing it weekly. You can see that we actually default as type of a month of date, but I'm just simply coming in and looking at my compliance. So what I'm seeing here, I can do this again every day, would come in and see right away my report summary and my compliance here. So this is telling me is that I'm receiving 85.71% of my reports. In this case, it's across our entire portfolio. So I'm saying I'll choose a single one here to simplify the view a little bit. So I can come in and see within seconds, I have a 100% report. I am receiving all the reports that I would expect to receive, including those being manually uploaded by the night auditor for yesterday, or in this case, the entire month. And so we can change this date as well to be any type of range, including a custom range. So previously, something that was almost impossible or very time consuming for me to do in terms of validating that my night audit pack was being handled and created correctly. I can see again, within seconds that this was completed. Also see here in scenarios where I would have missing reports, you can see as we're not 100%, we do have some missing reports. I can easily find that right here under my report status, where I'm going to be missing those reports. So here I can see that 4 out of 7 of those reports that I'm expected for this property have not been uploaded. So by clicking here, I can see that I'm missing my credit card processor summary report, my paid out receipts, and my room reconciliation report. Now, ideally, you wouldn't see a whole lot of these. You can see that for the last at least 6 days, we've been missing these reports. But if you're checking this daily or weekly, you're going to see this very quickly and be able to rectify it, whether that is there's an issue at the PMS level, or it's not being closed out correctly from the night auditor perspective, or whatever reason it may be, and correct that right away. And at that point, you can either resend them from the system or even quickly just upload them here back to the universal loading portal. So very quick and easy to make sure that I'm in 100% compliance in terms of having the night audit pack and everything, all the reports I would expect on file and on hand. You can also see here we have our signature reports. So as a GM or even someone above property, I may want to be sending out reports to people throughout the organization or even to myself. These reports are obviously sent over, they're received, they're indexed and managed and tracked. But now I can also send those out automatically by the system to myself. I may want to send myself as a GM the manager flash report, or maybe there's a report that I want to send out to the ownership group, or potentially some financial reports to our accounting team, or maybe I want to send a revenue report to our sales manager team. There's really any number of kind of examples of different reports I would want to send to different parts of the organization. And as part of that is that I also like them to review that report. So anyone that I have sending reports to within the system, you can see who I'm sending reports to, and if they have in fact reviewed and signed off on that DocuSign pack. In this case, you can see out of our 5 reports that we're receiving from the PMS, I'm choosing to send out a subset of those, or just 3 of them, to, in this case, our colleague Ben. So Ben receives a DocuSign report each day with each of those reports, so he's able to see them and then sign off on the DocuSign envelope, letting me know that he has in fact received and reviewed those reports. So this is great. Now I know that I'm receiving all of my reports. I know that the people that I want to be reviewing those reports are in fact reviewing those reports. But what if I need to go ahead and find a report myself? That is, we will go back to our reports repository. So from the screen, we have a couple of easy ways to rect, choosing my solution, or if we have multiple properties or groups, or if I want to look by different systems type. But here I'll just look for November 6th. These on top here, and we were just looking through what we kind of refer to as indexes within the solution. This is how all the reports are stored and indexed so that they have metadata associated to them, so that's very easy to find. So as opposed to filing through file boxes or clicking through Google Drive or Box, I can very, very easily find based on the date or date range or report name or property that the report's associated to, and find it in the blink of an eye. Show you that I click on a report, you can see that we're bringing in the report as it actually exists within the system. So this is very crucial from an audit perspective. So if I'm coming in and I want to see, for instance, my manager flash report, so I'm not having that set to me automatically. The GM, I can simply log in, make sure that all my reports are in fact here. Anyone that should be signing reports is signing reports, and quickly check something such as my no-show rooms that I wanted to see for the last day. Very easy to find this here. Also, many times when I want to go through reports, either for yesterday or even past reports from any point in time, and look up specific information. Say I had a question on one of my invoices, or someone from corporate had a question for me on one of our invoices. I can use our markup feature, which will allow me to essentially do a PDF markup directly on the report itself. So I can highlight text, underline text. As you see here, I already have one in here where I have a red box. I can then put a note or any kind of text here. That also gives me a timestamp. And directly from the system, I can send it to whoever I like. So maybe I had a question from accounting on a specific invoice. I can then highlight that in my account, send it to that person in accounting, add a subject line, an additional body of an email that I'd like to, and then simply email it to them. So I can get them the report, including my note as a markup, without ever having to actually come out of the system or take that out of the system. Another very common use case that we'll have, and this is mainly applicable above property, or particularly applicable above property, is our ability to look at multiple reports or specific reports over a specific time frame, 1st to the 6th. And then for my account detail, I can find all of my account detail reports across all of my properties within this specific time frame. So this is really, really helpful for instance, Kyle had mentioned helping with end of month activities for accounting or finance. They can come here and what usually takes hours collating many reports across many different systems that are being stored in many different locations. I can very, very easily, like you said again, or saw within seconds, can find all of my reports associated here and then easily download them right here. So it's great that we have all of our reports coming in. We can validate that and verify that easily. We have reports being sent out for review and for signature. I'm able to find reports and provide access to these reports to anyone within the organization that I'd like to. Give them the appropriate access rights. But there's also kind of the ongoing management of who have access, having different users. As we all know, there's always turnover, and making sure that the right people have the right access needs to be not only possible, but easy as well. And with a relatively new features, we are able to provide you exactly that within the MyDoc solution. So if I just had some turnover or I had a new night auditor come on board, for instance, I can simply come into the system manager and very quickly create them a username just by putting in their information, applying them certain roles. So that's going to be a night auditor role, the permissions you'd like them to have, and the properties that you would like them to have access to. So this can be applicable for anyone from night auditor to anyone in corporate to provide them the correct access. You can also choose and modify some of the behaviors that we were seeing within the signature workflow screen. So as you can see here, looking at by hotel, by property, I can look at anyone that has access granted, get update access for anyone that I have within the system. I can also create groups. So if we want to have specific reports going out to a specific group of people, for instance, if I want to have my finance reports being sent out to the finance team, but only one of them actually needs to provide a signature for that, we can have that set up as a group. And we can choose which reports are going to whom on a report by report basis. So very, very easy. And again, this is a relatively new feature, so we're very excited for it. But easy to manage your users, manage who are receiving which reports in just a couple of clicks. So once you have decided that you'd like to bring on MyDocs onto the property, really the final step is simply the onboarding process. So here we're working directly with you, obviously ahead of time to answer any questions. Then you're also assigned your own onboarding team here at MDO. So this is including your onboarding project manager, as well as your implementation specialists. So these implementation specialists are the ones working directly with someone on property to help them with setting up reports, choosing those reports, getting the system set up itself, and then on to step 4, which is a lot of the validation that we are in fact receiving the reports we would expect to receive, training any of your users that you would like us to provide training to on the system itself, and then getting you live and going. And with that, I will pass it back to you, Jason. Oh, Jason, I think you're on mute.
Yeah, sorry about that.
You're good.
Thanks, Rory. That was an awesome dive into how the MyDocs product works. At this point, we're going to open it up for questions, and we've got several in the queue already. So let's get right to it. First of all, a question from Richard here that I'll address quickly, hoping this will be recorded and emailed. Yes, we are recording, and we will send an email out tomorrow to all the registrants with a recording of the webinar. I'm going to see if I can blow this up here. Sarah asks, I think I'll direct this one to you, Rory. Does MDO have a checklist or checklists for planning to move from a complete paper-free program?
Yeah, great question, Sarah. So I think the use case there is obvious, right? So currently in MyDocs, we can bring in any reports, or like I mentioned during the demonstration, being able to scan and upload them. Currently, creating reports is not a existing function within MyDocs. However, it is on our product roadmap to have a type of form filler or form creator, so that not necessarily relying on having to bring those forms that are mostly manual at this point into the system, but actually be able to fill them out directly there. So there's no scanning, there's no uploading, they're actually just created and saved. So that is a feature that is coming down the line.
Awesome. That's super helpful. Thanks, Rory. Kyle, I think this one is directed to you. Somebody asks, what made you decide to change your NA process? I think they're referring to night audit. What made you decide to change your night audit process?
Yeah, a number of things, really. So I think everybody here kind of appreciates that the turnover of staff in hospitality is pretty high. I mean, pretty much every industry is running into this issue. But night auditors for us was one of the highest turnover positions. And there was a lot of kind of previous handed down knowledge of what you're supposed to do and how you're supposed to do it. So that was one issue we had tried in-house, of creating SOPs and guides and everything you're supposed to do. It didn't really work. So making it just a significantly simpler process, so that it was more of a kind of checks and balances role, was certainly one. And the other one being, we're big on data. We want to see this data in a centralized location. We want everybody to be able to have access that needs access. And when it's on property, it's more of a paper-based, it just doesn't really lend itself to that. You're never going to have a high percentage of that. So that was probably the final nail in the coffin, as it were, of the old style. And then really just modernizing our entire process on property it's our CEO Tyler's number one goal across the board.
Yeah, that's awesome. That makes a ton of sense. Okay, I think this one for you, Rory. Florent wants to know, will all the records remain available if or when we change PMS?
Yes, yep, absolutely. Kind of our stance at MDO is your data is your data, right? We're just storing it for you. So if you were to change PMSs, if you were, say, using Opera for 4 years and then switched over to Fosse, you'd, even within your same instance of MyDocs, you would just, if you went back to the point in time you were using Opera, you'd see the Opera reports, and the time you switch over to Fosse, you would see the Fosse reports. So it'd still stay even within the same instance. If for whatever reason there was a time where you wanted to switch properties and you just wanted to, or switch systems, and you just wanted to bring all those down and store them yourself somewhere, we could also provide you with essentially a bulk download of all the reports we've stored for you for however many years you've been using MyDocs.
Awesome, thanks.
Just to jump in on that one as well, with Hilton specifically, in the midst of that transition from OnQ typically to PEP, we're got 67 Hilton properties, and we're about 40 of them now doing that transition. We have that exact, there's that day transition as the property gets used to the new PMS, but we still have access to all of our old PMS data for the past years, and then PEP just kind of takes over.
Yeah, it's a very, very real life example that I'm sure a lot of our attendees here are currently going through at the moment.
Exactly. Cool. One more for you, Rory. Wendy wants to know, this is about signature workflow. Can we have signature workflows for other reports / documents such as shift notes?
Yes, as long as they are coming in at the same time, essentially, or scheduled time. So those could be uploaded and still be sent out, but they would obviously need to be uploaded by a certain time for the automation that packages it and sends it as part of the DocuSign envelope to be able to pick it up. But yeah, definitely.
Awesome. Thanks. You're welcome, Florent. We've got a couple more. Reminder, guys, put your questions in the chat box and we will get to them. Got a couple more minutes to answer questions here. So here's one from Christine. She wants to know, Rory, I guess this is for you. Can I give access to only one GM for his property only?
Yeah, yep, absolutely. Everything that we were just kind of showing there in the system during the demonstration is completely customizable by user and by access level. So giving your night auditor only access to that universal loading portal we looked at, giving your GM only access to their property, even giving groups, right? So it could we have we have clients that or management groups that are working with multiple ownership groups, and the ownership groups sometimes want access to those reports as well. So we can even divvy it up by group within a single instance of MyDocs. So yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Got a great question from Victor here. Maybe each of you could weigh in on it. Rory, I'll start with you. Victor wants to know, what is the difference between some PMSs that have already automated emails to send reports?
Yeah, I assume that means.
I guess the difference between MyDocs and just doing your traditional night audit through the PMS, I think would be the question.
Yeah. So if you're storing them in the PMS, like that's great as well to have the redundancy there. Or to, yeah, if you have multiple places to have a redundancy, that's great. Relying purely on storing them within the PMS can be dangerous, just because corruption happens. Systems go offline. We've had clients that have had their entire PMS go out. They've lost their reports for, I would say, not by the last 2 years, and were able to use MyDocs to download those reports. Additionally, many systems don't keep those reports for a full 7 years, which is required from an auditing standpoint. In terms of emailing the reports directly from the systems, that is one of actually the methods that we receive the reports. So having maybe your Fossey auto, actually Fossey wouldn't be able to do it, but that, for instance, being able to auto email you the manager flash, it can do that, but then it's in your inbox, and if you need to go back look at it, it can be very difficult to find. It's not grouped together with other reports. If anyone within the organization also wants to see that report, it's in your inbox, or you have to send it to them. And then you're getting a different email from each property that you have, right? So if you have 20 properties and you're receiving the email directly from the PMS into your inbox, you get 20 emails every morning.
Great. Victor says, thanks a lot. That's awesome.
Yeah, great question.
Okay, so we have two more. Yeah, I think Megan, I can address this one. Megan asks, if we currently have MDO but aren't using it to its full advantage, are we able to have a training refresh? Yes, of course, we'll follow up with you directly after this to get that set up. And then, well, this is the great question. Janet wants to know, what is the cost for this service? And actually, that's a great transition. We'll use that as the last question, and I'll pull up this slide here. MDO is it's an annual cost. Obviously, it's dependent on the size of your portfolio. And I've got this QR code up here that you can pull up to scan for more information. That way you can talk to our sales team to see what your specific unique situation is and how MDO can solve that for you. Or there's an email here. You can email sales@mydigitaloffice to get any more specific questions answered and actually request an order form. With that, I'm going to wrap it up. Thank you so much, Kyle and Rory. Really, really appreciate your time today. That was an awesome discussion. Thanks, everybody, for joining us who attended today. And again, you'll get an email tomorrow with the recording. Appreciate everyone's time. Talk to you soon.
Thanks, Jason. Thank you, Kyle. Thank you very much, everyone.
Thanks, guys. See you later.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.